I am going to show you today how I'm going to be working with Milliput Superfine White. So if you've been watching my other playlist, this is my resin cast of the Monster Clay customization that I did of Superman Adopted Son. And the cast was actually really good. There were a few problems with just very tiny little air bubbles that might have formed just on the surface. So what I've actually done, if you can see there, is I've actually accentuated those holes because obviously we want the Milliput to actually fit into it. So it does look quite awful right now. And I have a few more just at the back. And so what I've got is a nice little scale that I use for other applications. So with Milliput, it comes as a two-part mixture or two-part component, and you need to mix equal parts of this. So what I've decided to do, because I just want to do a very small amount on this model, I'm just going to maybe have 1 gram of each, and that's where my scale comes in to make sure that I mix equal amounts. So the next step is to mix these two parts completely. They say, I think it was, for at least, until the parts are completely mixed, and once they've mixed completely, to continue doing that for a whole other minute. So I see what they mean, that it is actually not that easy to tell when you've actually mixed it. So I'm just going to keep going, and I will resume once it's fully mixed. So I'm almost there. One fact that I really do like with Milliput is that it's actually water soluble. So you actually can keep a little pot of water nearby just to keep your fingers a little bit moist. They also say to work with tools that are very slightly moist so that it doesn't stick to your tools. And also having a little bit of water there just to moisten it a little actually gives it a nice smooth finish. Other things like Green Squadron or other brands like Mr. Surfacer, that sort of thing, you need cellulose thinners or that sort of thing to actually clean your tools and your fingers. And I, as you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, I really do not like working with solvents. So anything water-based is my preference. Okay, so that's looking pretty mixed up to me. As you can see, my fingers are looking quite filthy. I don't think I'm supposed to be wearing any gloves. I guess they wouldn't hurt. Will make cleaning my fingers a lot easier, so maybe next time I will use gloves. Okay, so I'm just going to dip my sculpting tool in a bit of water. I definitely did not need a whole gram of this. And I'm just going to smear that on. So as I mentioned before, I accentuated these holes just so that I actually have something into which I can actually stick the Milliput. I don't want the stuff falling out. I hope that's in focus. So I'm not too concerned about it being messy because I can sand that off later. And obviously if I have a very slight ridge on it, then I have a better chance of having something actually to sand away. I also have quite a large seam line that I was not really successful in sanding away. It's just in a very awkward place. So I'm going to actually try and create some sort of filling as if this were just normal putty, and then work it away afterwards. Wow, definitely quite nice stuff to work with. As soon as you smooth it, as soon as you moisten that, that really just spreads very nicely. And again, it's because it's water soluble, I'm not too concerned about what it's doing to my skin compared to if I was working with Green Squadron or something solvent based, because then I'd also have to use the solvent to then clean my skin. So I'm very chuffed with this stuff. I'm getting quite a nice finish there already. Milliput has completely dried. They say that it dries hard in about 2 to 3 hours. I actually found that depending on how much I'd moistened it, it actually might take a lot longer. So I found it's nice and dry and hard within probably about I leave it overnight, so it's a good day. So the advantage of this stuff is that it is actually really hard. I mean, you can barely scratch it off with your nail. So this is completely workable. I can actually file it. I'm just showing over here, so I can smooth that out. And as you can see, it's not peeling back or anything like that. It's very solid and can take the file. And then obviously same again with sanding. It is very much sandable. And I know you kind of think, well, of course this is the whole point of the stuff. However, if I compare it to another product I have, this is plastic putty from Vallejo products, and this stuff is more or less, I think you can compare it to, let's say, painting a nice thick paint, a thick coat of acrylic, and if you let that dry, if you then take sandpaper to that, that will just peel off. Whereas this over here, I've got quite a thick layer over there, for example. Not sure if you can see, but it's quite a thick chunk. And that's really not a problem. I can just file, sand that down, no problem. It's also quite, it's very, very fine. You can see the powder in my finger there. Very fine stuff. So you can get also very nice, smooth finish with this stuff. I know there are different levels of Milliput, so this is obviously the Superfine White. Yeah, so, really happy with the stuff. Very nice that it's water-based. A few of the others are solvent-based and require, cleaning up with thinners or thinning with thinners, such as a mineral spirit or alcohol. So this is really nice. So you can also then just, you get it all over your fingers, but you can wash that off quite easily. So this is the one I actually did before. I've had a few rounds of this. So it's quite interesting, particularly with the resin kit. This is almost translucent. You can't really see the imperfections with the naked eye that easily. So the idea then is you spray a very thin coat of your primer, and that will bring out various imperfections. So I think this is the second time I've had to spray the primer. So it's looking particularly good. But then obviously I can still see a few imperfections. If I just look at his face over there, you can see like a scratch in there, which I might, or actually I probably will fill up. And other tiny little things, like you can see little pockets that I didn't actually notice before, so I'll have to come in again with the Milliput. So there is my final product. I probably had about 3 attempts at applying the base coat and applying Milliputs and just doing that iterative process. Very importantly, you want to apply a very thin layer of paint every time. The reason for this is obviously when you do any sanding and you're pulling back a little bit of paint, is you don't want to see any of the underlying layers, so you don't want to see any like streaks. So apply a very thin layer of paint, let the paint cure overnight, and when you do sand it, use something, a very, very smooth piece of sandpaper. Leave it unfolded, so when you do the sanding, you do it extremely gently. Using because also if you fold it and you create corners, you might end up nicking other parts of your piece. So what I did is just left it open, a slightly used piece of sandpaper, and just ever so gently, without just really using the weight of the sandpaper almost, just doing a very, very light sanding, so that you don't actually cause any of that paint to tear off or peel off, because then you'll create a nice chunk or a hole, and you'll need to fill that up. So yeah, that was about 3 goes. I could probably find more imperfections if I really wanted to, but I'm very happy with that finish. Milliput, definitely a lot better than the Vallejo liquid plastic, just in the fact that you can sand the stuff very well. and yeah, very happy. So there you go, Milliput Superfine, give it a try. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or would like to see anything else, please let me know, and just leave a message down below.